You come to the New Yorker Radio Hour for conversations that go deeper with people you really want to hear from, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or Questlove or Olivia Rodrigo, Liz Cheney, or the godfather of artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, or some of my extraordinarily well-informed colleagues at the New Yorker. So join us every week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what lesbians have found. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Hang Out. We're Two Drunk Lesbians podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening.
And if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here.
From the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida, and we are so excited to bring you Season 2, Episode 3, Spreading the Girlship Word.
Before we get started today, it is time for a little This Week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a segment where we touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or in our Les universe. And so with the podcast, we'll be booking some live shows this year, so keep an eye out for that.
And let us know where you'd like to see us. It helps a lot for us to find venues if we know that you guys will be there. So Let us know where you are. We'll come see you. Also, today is the last day that you can sign up to be a patron and enter to be featured on an episode of the podcast. So if you were debating, do I want to be a patron? Do I not want to be a patron? It's a good opportunity to get to come hang out with us in person or / virtually in person. Enter today. You'll get entries towards a drawing, and we're going to have one of you come on. And you also get all the other fun perks of being a patron, like movie watches and jingles and all sorts of good stuff.
And if you want to see me actually in person, for all of our Boston listeners, I'll be playing at Aeronaut Brewing Company in Somerville this Wednesday night, the 19th at 8 p.m. Would love to see some of you guys there.
Woohoo.
Yay. All right. And this week in our Les universe, we just need to talk about all the ladies who are in suits, who are taking pictures.
There's so many photo shoots of ladies killing it in suits lately. I mean, first, like Gillian Anderson crushed it.
Like everything from A Simple Favor that's just like giving me too many feelings.
Blake Lively crushing the suits. They had, what was the photo shoot with Anne Hathaway and Jessica Chastain?
Oh my God,
they're
just everywhere.
There's a lot of ladies in suits lately that we just thought we needed to shout that out.
Keep them coming. And you know what? I just thought of this right now. But if you're listening to this and you have some killer pictures of you in a suit, send them to us.
Yes.
Because I need more. I need more. Yeah.
Something else that we wanted to highlight is they just put out TV Guide's list of the best 100 shows right now, and we thought it was worth mentioning that it features a number of our queer favorites on that list. So One Day at a Time is on there, Killing Eve, Jane the Virgin.
Oh, I love Jane the Virgin.
Vita. I'm catching up on Jane the Virgin right now, and I love it.
It's so good.
Vita's on there. Winona Earp is on there, obviously. There's a lot of queer heavy shows on that list.
We are loving it.
We are making our voices heard, you guys. It's pretty awesome.
And with that, that's This Week in the Lesdom. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
This episode, we are so excited to be joined by Amanda Holland, creator of GirlShipTV, former BuzzFeed video producer and scriptwriter. You might have seen her get drunk a lot. Amanda, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad that the internet has seen me get drunk a lot, I think.
One of the best things in lesbian internet. So
thank you.
It's fantastic.
It's an accurate introduction, I think.
Yes, for sure. So we're here to talk about, Amanda does a ridiculous number of things. But we want to start with Girlship TV, which most of you probably have seen. But for our listeners, if they have not, Amanda, would you guys just explain what is Girlship TV?
So Girlship TV is content created for queer women, by queer women. And it is a place where you can come and hang out with, if you don't have a lot of queer friends, we will be your queer BFF and talk about all of the media that you might be watching on your own. Or maybe you're watching with other friends and we'll just be additional friends.
Love it.
You started Girlship less than a year ago?
Yes, October 8th, I think, is the 1 year.
Why did you feel like it was necessary to start Girlship TV?
So I left BuzzFeed now a year ago because they, I feel like I've said this before, but not on your podcast, so it's fine. I left BuzzFeed a year ago because they didn't want to pursue scripted content anymore. And that is what I did. That was the team I was on. So I was then let go with a nice severance. Thank you to them for that. And at the time at BuzzFeed, I'd always wanted to do a queer channel, but there was pushback from a lot of people, a lot of other queer people at BuzzFeed who thought that the content should be integrated into the normal channels and not like separated. We should like make people watch more queer content just by putting it in with the other content. But because the commenters on BuzzFeed are just trash fire dumpster,
Like commenters in general, I think.
you can find the nice YouTube commenters, but the ones on BuzzFeed, especially the main channel, are just terrible and always trolling because it's just such a very generic channel. So any queer content that went up there would always get we would have to have moderators on it 24/7 because it would just get so much hate. And I felt like that was doing a disservice to the community because the queer people who actually wanted to see that content would come and then just see this hate and vitriol in the comments and then probably think to themselves, well, I'm not welcomed in any of these communities. After I left BuzzFeed, I was like, well, I had one friend who was like, why don't you just do it yourself? And I was like, fuck, you're right. So I started Girlship as a way to just kind of create a community where we could all love the content, like love or hate some of the queer content that's already out there, you know, as overused as it is, just kind of create a safe space because it was necessary.
Is that better on Girlship TV, like the comment section?
Oh yeah, it's funny because I'll sometimes have my friends, my fellow BuzzFeed employees or ex-BuzzFeed employees come and do an episode of like Drunk Lesbians Watch or just help out, and they will be shocked at how nice the comments are because we found the audience has found us, and it's more of a place of love than it is of hate, which is good because I would not have kept doing it if it was still hate.
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly felt that way in terms of like, you know, because let's be honest, the episode that we did with you, we sat and like going through the comments seeing like, oh my God, who thought we were great and who loved us?
Who thought we were cute? What?
Ellie's literally screen capping ones where people are like, "Ooh, Ellie's so hot."
I am on my wall.
So
it's
we
fine.
agree. Yeah, I mean, the comment section seemed like a lot of fun, but it was not, you know, the dumpster fire you usually find on the internet.
Yeah, thankfully. I mean, we will get. I've had to deal with a pretty biphobic comment recently that I had to get rid of because my actor found it. And I like occasionally you'll get some TERFs in the comment section as well, but thankfully, because with BuzzFeed, we were never allowed to reply to the comments, but because I have control over it, I can just be like, blocked. Okay. Hide user from channel. Bye. Like, we don't need your shit here.
Yeah. Nice.
I feel like that sort of leads us nicely into like YouTube in general. Like what are the benefits of you doing it yourself versus having to work like with BuzzFeed or another company?
I am a little bit of a control freak, so that's definitely a thing. And
a lot of us are, though. I mean, especially I think if you're willing to get into this game, I feel like you kind of have to be.
Yeah, that's proven to be, but it's one of those things as the channel grows, I've definitely been like, okay, well, I have to relinquish some control if I want to keep this going without going crazy. Having full control and ownership of the content is definitely great. Mm-hmm. Me and Chantel are making a short film because we're going to Bufferfest again. And we had debated about doing it through BuzzFeed or doing it on our own. And now we're thankfully doing it on our own, which means we have full ownership over the content and can enter the short into different festivals. So that's good. YouTube is such a big platform, so there is a chance for people to find you because the search engine is really spectacular despite being demonetized anytime I post a video.
Oh, we're going to talk about it. Don't worry.
I don't know. It's one of those things where because I'm doing it on my own, I now have like a nice portfolio of content that I can send to future employers, future showrunners. So
when you talk about doing it yourself, I mean, I feel like it's interesting. YouTube right now, especially for queer content, it's such a hub. There's so much there where I think a lot of people in the queer community have kind of gotten to that place where it's like we're tired of other people telling us, here's what you can put out there, here's what's acceptable, here's what's appropriate, like here's what we'll allow you to put out there. Or what do you think is important about having a lot of the content that's being put out that are queer stories, queer channels, things like that, that tend to now be kind of helmed by queer people, telling our own stories and everything? Because I think it especially in the past couple of years, like that's been a huge shift that's happening, like specifically on YouTube, I think.
Yes. Wait, what was the question?
The question is like, what are your thoughts on like what a difference that makes in terms of being able to make our own decisions, being able to tell our own stories ourselves?
When we make our own content and when we get people watching and people excited about it, it proves to studios that there is an audience there for this content. And we're small but mighty. And there are shows like Winona Earp, which I love, and granted it's not web, but that is definitely a show that would not be on today if it wasn't for the Way Hot fandom. And I think that they know that.
Yeah.
The cool thing about YouTube, and granted it happens every once in a while, is that sometimes web series will get picked up to air to TV.
Fingers crossed Carmilla, right? We're all waiting.
Fingers crossed Carmilla. I think there was a show, I could be very wrong. I can't remember if it was queer or not, but I think there was a show called Brown Girls that got picked up to HBO from a queer channel in Chicago, I believe. Yeah. Anyone can fact check me on that.
Well, and like Broad City started on YouTube, right?
Yeah, Broad City, Insecure. Mm-hmm. Like Donald Glover was picked up from his sketch comedy channel on YouTube. So it's just it's a wider platform, and it is more of a proof of concept, which is why there are so many YouTubers getting into like movies or TV shows, because they want to know, because this is just the way that the business is now. They want to know that there's an audience that will follow, which is why it is kind of shitty that like a lot of actors have to have a social media following, because they just want to know that there's a built-in audience. Mm-hmm. So that being said, YouTube works as a proof of concept for TV, basically. So hopefully we can, things like Carmilla can get picked up to series.
Yeah. Well, and they did get the movie. I think while we're talking about Carmilla, it is worth noting that like, yes, you have to show that you have the following, but man, I mean, queer fandoms show up, like Winona Earp is a great example. I think Carmilla is a great example in terms of not just getting the full-length movie and, getting people like Dominique, but also Natasha and Elise both winning, what was the award that they won? It's like the
Canadian,
something Canadian.
Something, I don't know.
Something Canadian.
I don't know.
We're filthy Americans. We don't know anything.
I don't know.
Those are Audience Choice Awards, and so I think, that's a great example as well of showing, like, this is how dedicated queer fandoms are to being heard, to lifting up the people in our community that are kind of, like, taking these strides and bringing this content out there.
Big ups to Canada, because they will...
Always.
Not only do they have, like, pretty cool queer content coming out, but they also have this thing called the Independent Production Fund, and I know this because I've always been jealous of it, but they do fund, the government does fund a lot of their web series, and I do wonder if it's, like, due to being, like, look at how cool this is, maybe it can go to TV, I don't know, like... So.
Yeah, I'm not in the room when they make that decision, but I wonder if they know that, like, realistically, a lot of minority groups that have trouble getting into mainstream representation because those doors aren't always open, that's where they turn. This is where you're going to start. Is you're going to start with saying, well, I'll just do it myself. I'm going to throw it up on YouTube, and that's where a lot of that content's going to originate, because that's what's available.
So I started writing because, sidetrack. But like, you're right. But like, I started writing because I didn't, when I graduated from college, I wanted to be an actor. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm a 21-year-old girl. Let's see what parts are available for me. And they're all like skinny models. And I was like, okay, so no plus size parts? Great. Cool. So I started writing because I wanted to see myself. And I feel like that's definitely a feeling that a lot of people can relate to, especially when people are making their own things.
It's a big theme of our podcast is like seeing yourself on screen and how does that impact you? And like, who are the creators that are making those roles for themselves and for other people in our community, which we appreciate.
Yeah, screen time, real big in the podcasting world.
Screen times, well, screen time, whatever, airtime, all of it is important.
I'm just teasing you, Ellie. Yeah, I think, especially with stuff like that where you're saying, like, no plus size parts. It's like, even, we're still running into, like, the bullshit thing of, like, what's the new...
Insatiable.
Insatiable, right? Where it's like, oh, look, here's a plus size character, and then she gets skinny and hot, and then she's great. And you're like, well, fuck that. Like, what? Why?
I've done extensive research into that show without actually watching it.
Yeah, I approve, because we shouldn't watch it.
Although, if you watch the first episode and then nothing else, that'll definitely count against them. Just saying. But
so just watch the first episode. That's the campaign. Only watch one episode.
Because that's a good example of something where they thought they were doing, like the intention was good, but the execution was terrible. And granted, I feel like there might be people being like, well, you haven't watched it. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but I've read all of the reviews. I've had close friends watch it and tell me, and I've seen all of the major plot points, which are just like outrageous, but in what they think is the name of satire. I don't know. It's a train wreck.
Yeah. Plus, this is America. We are nothing if not a country of forming opinions without doing any research right now. So I think that's the most fair way to judge someone.
Yeah, that lyric was left out of Donald Glover's version.
This is America. We don't do research. It's fine. It's fine. I want to reroute us back a little bit.
Unsidetrack?
Yes, from our sidetrack, which is okay. So I would love to talk to you about some of the actual like logistics of being a YouTube creator for anyone in our audience who maybe is like listening to this podcast and they're like, I want to make my own content. Like, what are your first steps? Like, how do people get into it?
It truly helps. I taught myself how to edit, and I always had an interest in photography. So that kind of helped with shooting things because it's framing. So I had a very basic knowledge of like how to shoot and edit, and I made short films, and I had a YouTube channel before I started working at BuzzFeed. I won't name that YouTube channel because it's got some weird stuff on it.
We will do our research this time.
I feel like it'll be pretty easy to find, to be honest. Thankfully, like there's even a whole website called No Film School. Like you honestly, and I could be wrong, but you could pretty much teach yourself all you need to know on the internet. You can teach yourself how to shoot. You can teach yourself how to edit. It's just a matter of having the drive to do it, because there's a very good chance that for Parallel Part 3, we're going to film it on my phone, because I want to be able to use this stabilizer and like be able to run around people and be a totally smooth motion. So that being said, you can film things on your phone now these days.
I mean, I think a lot of our content has been filmed and will be filmed on our phone.
Yeah, like I was like, let me get the iPhone X so I can like film stuff that actually looks decent, but it's only on a phone.
iPhones film 4K now. Like you can make a movie on an iPhone. People have. So it's one of those things where it's like equipment, you might have to put you will have to kind of invest a little bit into equipment, but if you can find the right cheap stuff. We're at a point now in filmmaking where if you live in a big enough city, there are websites called ShareGrid, which is like Airbnb for equipment that you can go ahead and rent from. Understanding equipment and getting equipment is the first step. It also depends on what you want to do, because like am I giving tips now? What am I doing now?
I think we're just talking about like, how first steps, right? Yeah, just first steps, like general ideas. We don't need like a bullet point plan.
It's like, here's what you do. If you have a story to tell, it's always fun, for me at least as a writer, to be able to write and to to have writing challenges. To be like, okay, I only have my apartment to film in. What can I write in this apartment? And then really think outside the box and really try to test yourself with like, what's an interesting genre that would happen that you could see in just an apartment? Fantasy, sure. 3 unicorns live together. I don't know.
How many things have you filmed in your apartment so far?
Everything.
Everything.
And I just moved into a new apartment, so now we have a new set.
Woohoo, nice.
Hey, think of what you save on not needing to hire location scouts, you know? It's great.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also one of those things too where I am grateful that I feel like even though I said you don't need film school, I feel like BuzzFeed was my film school because I definitely learned I finessed my editing talent and was able to really fine-tune skills there and learn how to do things very cheap because our budgets were not big.
Yeah.
So you really have to be very creative in your thinking of how to get things done. But I have been running this channel all by myself for almost a year, so it is doable. But goddamn, is it hard work and a lot of work, and you really don't have to get a day off. So
yeah, well, and I
Yeah.
mean, other than having to like film, you know, where you live and stuff, like, what are some of the other things that you think have been like the biggest challenges, or like some of the you know, most fun parts of like finding ways to make it work?
biggest challenges is for me is just like I need to hire people.
Yeah,
I need to not do this alone. So it's finding people that I trust with the content. It's being able to, I don't know how certain YouTubers do it because there are some YouTubers who have had like the same show on for years. Mm-hmm. And like after a while doing the same show over and over again, it gets like repetitive. And so, yeah, it's like being able to kind of switch it up enough that you don't hate your life. And like really be able to reinvent the things that you're doing or come up with content that you're excited to do. But that being said, like it's kind of, I feel like one of the most fun parts is seeing the audience reaction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to like, I'm always checking the comment sections after every new episode of Parallel, just to see. It was really fun when we had Project Inferno on because I underestimated the audience, and I know for season 2 not to do that because I was like, oh, we're going to make it kind of like, try to make it a little obvious. And people figured it out like halfway through the season what the twist was going to be. And I was like, shit. So it's fun to see people's reaction to the content. And then like, I'm working on a show right now that will replace Drunk Lesbians Watch for the time being, but I'm very excited to start working on it. So
nice.
Cool. You can't tell us what it is, right? You can't tell us what it is.
I can tell you what it is. I mean, I can't. I think the only reason that I would be hesitant to is because we're still in such the early stages that if it doesn't happen, I would feel bad. I'm trying to make a game show, basically, that we've already kind of filmed an episode for, very low budget version that's on the channel. But
please tell me someone somewhere has one of those like 1980s microphones with the long. That's what I want. I just want like
I haven't gotten that far with the props yet, but maybe
one day.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're definitely gonna ask you more about that after. Once the microphones are off, we want all the secrets.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
Hey, do you like true crime? Me too. And I know what you're thinking. There's so many true crime pods out there, you've already heard all the stories. Well, what if I were to tell you you're wrong? I'm Leroy Luna, the host of Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the podcast that takes a hardcore look at softcore crime. I've got a back catalog of hundreds of bizarre and hilarious stories just waiting to be heard by you. So come join me. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th every month, baby.
At Radiolab, we love nothing more than nerding out about science, neuroscience, chemistry.
But we do also like to get into other kinds of stories. Stories about policing or
politics,
country music,
hockey,
sex, of bugs.
Regardless of whether we're looking at science or not science, we bring a rigorous curiosity to get you the answers.
And hopefully make you see the world anew.
Radiolab, adventures on the edge of what we think we know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
I was going to say something that relates to what Amanda said, which is I feel like there are a lot of people, like the phrase, like, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life is sort of bullshit.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's amazing that you love what you do, but also it's still, at any point, it's always going to be work. Yeah. And I think that's, like, a thing that a lot of people just, like, I would assume, like, try to get into YouTube or try to get into content creation, and they're like, wait, this is way more work than I thought, and never mind, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
I've had a number of breakdowns during this channel. It's a lot of, it's because you're doing everything. You're shooting, you're editing, you're pre-pro, you're doing everything. I mean, at the end of the day, it still is pretty rewarding. Is it something I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Probably not. My main goal has always and will always be to write for a TV show or get staffed on a TV show. So that being said, it is something that is still very rewarding now.
We got to the same place, I think, with a lot of things. Like, we did our first season for the podcast, and it was just the two of us. We did everything, you know, and it's like, I have a full-time job. Like, Ellie has a bunch of other things that so many things that she's doing. Yeah. Like, and you get to a point where we're like, we could do more, we can put more out there, but we need help. You need other people, because it is, I mean, it's a ton of work, you know. There's so many things that go into a lot of this behind the scenes that isn't always immediately obvious at face value, you know. Like, when you're just watching a video and you're like, oh, great. It's like the amount of, like, effort and time and people and hours and money that goes into, like, a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Is and yeah, if
crazy.
It's not money, it's time, which is, like, more valuable.
I still have a lot of people who will contact me and say, hello, Girlship and team. And I'm always like, team. That's funny.
Amazing.
You should get a little, like, business card for yourself that just says, like, Amanda Holland, Girlship and team.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, while we're saying that real quick, because I'm curious. I'm always curious. So, Girlship TV, the name, where's the name come from?
It went through a lot of different variations. I wish I still had the list. Okay, one of the things that we talked about while at BuzzFeed was that when things are explicitly labeled queer, gay, whatever, there are some people who are closeted who might not share that because they don't, like, want to be outed by what they're looking at. And granted, if you look at Girlship, you'll know pretty quickly it's gay. That being said, I wanted to kind of keep those words out of the title so that if people wanted to look at it or watch it, they wouldn't get in trouble immediately by just seeing the name. So it was definitely keeping it to, like, and then it just kind of came down to just being like, I want people who ship girls to know that this is the place to do that.
This is the TV for you.
Yeah. If you ship girls,
nice. No
matter how you identify, this is where it will be. And at first I was a little worried because girl does, you know, give you a sense of, it's a juvenile word, but ladyship just didn't have the same ring. Yeah. So it kind of came into Girlship there.
Nice. Yeah, we definitely did not go that route, and there's nothing funnier than when you have, like, meeting someone new and you have to, like, you mention a podcast, and they're like, oh, what's your podcast about? And you're like, well, it's called Let's Hang Out, and that kind of sums it up.
Yeah, I'm like, everyone, there's no hiding.
Yeah, well, I mean, our podcast is called Queer as Fiction, so we definitely didn't hide for that one either.
So maybe that's a good transition to the next thing that we want to talk about, because we recently ran into on Twitter trying to promote a trailer for our second season. And, you know, that did not go well. We had a series of replies from them about censoring us for inappropriate language. I'm making finger quotes that nobody can see because it's a podcast. Inappropriate language or profanity. When we tried to follow up, it was profanity. And as far as we can tell, it is the word lesbian. Which, like, if that's the problem that they have, having a podcast called Les Hang Out is not going to do great trying to get that promoted anywhere. Mm-hmm. You responded to that on Twitter as well, with Twitter can go lesbian itself, which we enjoyed.
Good.
But I think it's something that we've seen a lot, that we know happens a lot on YouTube as well, where queer creators get demonetized, videos get demonetized, things get blocked, a lot of stuff like that. What have you run into? Where have you run into that on YouTube yourself?
At first I thought it was just, if you have lesbian or gay in the title, then it's going to get demonetized. And I actually knew that before we went into, like, calling the show Drunk Lesbians Watch. And I was like, but it's such a succinct title, and that, like, we're just going to have to bite the bullet on that. So that being said, I knew things were going to get demonetized. It is interesting because my stuff gets demonetized as soon as I hit, like, publish. Like, it's not even like somebody flags it. It's like as soon as I hit publish.
Do you think it's because of the title?
Yeah. Well, before I was like, oh, it's the title, but recently I'm starting to realize it's also the tags. Because there was an episode of Parallel that got demonetized immediately, and I was like, what? There's, like, no, lesbian is not in the title anywhere, but it was a thumbnail that had them, like, hugging each other, and it was clear they were in bed. So it was one of those things where it's like, oh, interesting. And I mean, every time there's like a way to click, like, review, like, certify that it is appropriate for all audiences. And most of the time they still see that as, they still keep it demonetized because there are, the Bound episode is still demonetized. Even though you don't see anything, since we left so much of the sex scene in, they kept it demonetized, and it's not appropriate for all audiences. That being said, there are people who are flagging videos, because I had a video that was where we watched Battle of the Sexes. Keep in mind, PG-13 movie, and it's been age-gated. And, like, so you have to certify that you're 18 years old to watch it. And I was like, that's weird, because yes, there are girls kissing and we are swearing, but that's it. Like, there's there is, like, you do see a kind of a sex scene in it, but if it was PG-13 and, like, in theaters, why is this being age-gated on YouTube?
Right.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous and something that I feel like we've all just been, like, dealing with. And there have been so many lesbian YouTubers who have threatened to leave YouTube over it. And they've all made those videos and none of them have left YouTube.
Well, where would you go, you know?
I've had people reach out to me. I think Daily Motion reached out to me to be like, come to our platform. And I was like, no.
No.
Sorry, Daily Motion.
Is it because you still want to have control over the content?
I think it's more because you can't beat the YouTube search engine. Like, it's the best. Even if we were to go to Vimeo, their search engine is not as good. At least it wasn't, like, a couple years ago. So, I mean, no offense to Vimeo. I did put up, because I had a battle with NBC Universal over the last episode we did about the bold type. That episode is up on Vimeo now because YouTube is being a jerk about it. But yeah, it's just been an ongoing battle. And, like, the video we just put up of King Princess is demonetized, and I already clicked it to request a review.
I'm also curious, like, as a creator, how detrimental is that to your business?
Oh, it's not great, because all of your most of your views come in within the first 24-hour, 48 hours, and it usually takes them a day and a half to monetize it again. So I'm definitely losing money from AdSense over it. And now they've started to do copyright claims against me, which are getting my videos demonetized as well. So I at one point was making a good amount on YouTube through AdSense, and now it's becoming very, very, very little, which I think is a problem that a lot of YouTubers have been having anyway. So most of my money now comes from Patreon. So thanks, Patreon subscribers.
Yeah. Patreon plug.
But I mean, we're kind of jokingly like saying like, Patreon plug. But I mean, it is like Patreon's a great alternative to just have people be able to support things like Girlship and things like us. I mean, it is. It's because it doesn't have to go through the hands of anyone else. It doesn't have to be approved that we're worthy of getting money for stuff. Like, and it's ridiculous when you think about some of the things where, like, if they demonetize your video and then you get all these views rolling in the first couple days, and then they decide, oh, actually, it's fine. Like, you don't get any of that back.
No,
no,
you don't.
Which is crap. That's crap.
Yeah,
and like we could go on all of the rants, but just like. It will never change because YouTube's just such a big corporation that like this little drop in the bucket of all these like queer people being like, this is ridiculous, like it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, and it's super weird too because I know a lot of really cool queer people who work at YouTube, and like it's just like it's one of those things where it just really feels like, well, I mean, there was a whole thing with what did they call it? Like Adgate, Ad Apocalypse, or something that happened.
Yeah, Adpocalypse.
Yeah, it makes sense because they're going to cater to the businesses who pay them money before they cater to the creators who are just putting content up on their platform. It sucks, but it makes sense. But I think when your guys' stuff happened with Twitter, it was kind of to me, I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, like, I guess, like, all of these big corporations are still further behind in the times than I thought when we're considering my identity as a profanity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That is the thing that's like, just like the fact that we are lesbians. Like, of course, like, it's like somewhat understandable when you can be like, there was this really graphic sex scene in my video. And like maybe literally just the fact that we are lesbians talking about being lesbians, and that is like profane.
Yeah.
That's like, I think, this like deeper issue. It's hard because even us, like, our ad was approved, so now I feel like it's like, okay, well, we're fine. But like, there's so much more to it than just, oh, you didn't let us reach 1,000 more people with an ad. Well, like, there's
and it kind of leaves you with that feeling of like, I guess they gave in, and agreed to air it, but it's still like the initial response of like, you are inappropriate, like, you are not suitable. It leaves you with that feeling.
Yeah. And the funny and shitty part, funny and like this is a dumpster fire, is that it's like, it reminds me of like how people are like, oh yeah, during Pride, everyone's going to profit off of making everything.
Right.
Like, we accept everything. And that there were Twitter ads probably being like, celebrate Pride, and then this shit happens.
Absolutely. Well, and especially ours, like, we happened to have had that happen the same week as the Alex Jones fiasco, of like, oh, well, we have to let Alex Jones say whatever he wants because free speech. And you're like, well, fuck your free speech. We can't even say lesbian. Like, that's absurd. Lesbian. That's absurd.
I was just going to say, you also can't change your name to Elon Musk without them blocking your Twitter account.
Well, also fuck Elon Musk. So, I mean, whatever. Not to get sidetracked again, but so while we're talking, we're sort of like keep coming back to content and what the content is. Let's actually talk about some of the content that you guys have on.
Sure.
I say you guys, that you, Girlship team, have on. You single person Girlship team have on your YouTube channel. So you have been a busy little bee. You have Parallel. You have Carol's a Demon. You have Project Inferno. You have a million things going on. What's that been like?
It's been fun. I feel like there's always a part of me that kind of has been interested in development, like for TV. So this is like a nice little gateway to that. It should just kind of see what people react to and see how people engage with the content. Scripted has been the most fun. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Drunk Lesbians Watch is fun to film, but not to edit.
What about being in it? Like Carol's a demon, you know, you're also acting, what are your thoughts on, you know,
wearing multiple hats?
Yeah, well, or just like being behind the scenes, being in scenes, being, you know, like what do you prefer?
It's very rare that I know a life where I'm only doing a single role in content. I think a good example is Carol's a Demon. While I was off screen, I was getting crafty. I was ordering catering lunches for everyone.
Yeah.
I was like making sure that we were kind of on schedule, even though we had a very lovely AD who did that as well. So yeah, it's on screen is fun, but when on screen is only fun for me when I'm doing nothing else.
And so let's talk a little bit about Project Inferno. So you said season 1's wrapped, correct? So
yeah.
you are getting ready for season 2. What's next for Project Inferno that you can tell us?
Season 2, I'm going to start writing it soon. We already, like, me and Ashley, because Ashley was like the co-creator on that, but under a different name because she was still at BuzzFeed at the time. We kind of, after it ended, because she was a co-creator on that, but then she was never on set, so she was always watching the episodes as they came out. So we watched the finale together, and we basically outlined the entire second season when that aired back in January. So we know roughly what's going to happen. I need to start writing it, so I want to start filming in October so that it goes up in November, December. It's only going to be 8 episodes. But that being said, we're not doing the same style of the camera in one place, the like stationary camera. We're going to be a lot more mobile. We're going to see more locations.
Not just your apartment.
Not just my apartment. Although there is a chance that we might be faking some locations in my apartment. And
green screen.
Yeah. We'll definitely see the facility that we all know that, yeah, we'll see. I mean, she got kidnapped, so we're going to see where she ends up.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, your newest project is Parallel, which I'm loving. It's such an interesting concept that I feel like has been explored in like similar ways in some heterosexual stories, but like we never got
those.
Right. Screw those. So I just finished the like most recent one, which is like rom-com-esque. Would you say?
Yes.
Right.
It definitely subverts the rom-com in a way.
There you go.
Okay.
I think that's the right word for it.
The great thing about a lot of your scripted stuff is that you are subverting queer tropes, but also just like movie tropes in general.
Yeah.
Other new question though, how many different parallel universes are we going through in general?
There's going to be a third one. There's going to be a part 3, and then that's going to be the end of the season. We have talked about what a season 2 would look like. And theoretically, we could keep doing the same thing because it's just a really fun way for me to explore genre and insert people into genre. But at the same time, if you saw part 1 and it had to do with assassins, we built up this story because they're exes. We built up this story about how they met and everything. And me and the actresses, Allie and Alyssa, we're like, wait, wouldn't it be cool if season 2 was just us seeing that story, how they met and like how they've been killing all these people in like Prague and everything. And we were like, so that might be season 2, just like seeing that relationship. And I don't know, maybe that's how all the seasons will go. But yeah, we could theoretically, I could keep going with that forever. At one point we were going to make a Western, but then it just got a little too complicated. We might actually film a Western separate of the parallel universe.
What you're saying is you can't fit a horse in your apartment.
We like figured out a way. I was like, I know a way that we could do it super cheap. We just go to Joshua Tree. We get a fire pit. We say the horse is lost, so we don't have to deal with horses. We film it at night. It's fine.
Amazing.
You say the horse is lost. You just have a throwaway line to be like, I'm wearing a cowboy hat, but I lost my horse. It's a Western.
Exactly.
Boy, howdy. Pistols. Pew, pew. Okay, got it.
Get creative, people.
Yeah.
Get creative. I'm excited to see that. That's what I'm waiting for. So, excellent. I think before we kind of finish, I think we want to talk a little bit about, you had a thread on Twitter recently where you were talking about wanting Girlship and wanting some of these series to be like a happy place, you know, like kind of a more of like an escapism place for queer women. And exactly what Ellie was just saying, to sort of subvert some of the tropes that we're used to, specifically because I think a lot of the tropes that queer people are used to is dying. What are our typical queer endings? You know, I mean, we have Disobedience, we have Lizzie. So why is that so important to you to have that girlship be something different, to have it be something that's more of like an escape?
I don't know if it necessarily started out that way. It more just started out as being like, I want to write things, and so I'm writing these queer stories. It's, if you'll notice, all of the series that we've done have been representation without commentary. So it's like, we've just accepted that they're gay, and we're not really going to be like, here's my coming out story. Like, because we're doing that, that's just like the way that I've been writing. But because of the way it's been going, I've started to get a lot of comments from people being like, thank you for like just normalizing queerness, and just like, it's just kind of a given. So it started off as just like, I'm going to make these stories. And it kind of became like, oh, so that people use this to like get away from, like, I even had somebody comment in that Twitter thread that they were like, I'm from a country where if you were gay, they will kill you. And I like watching this content. So it's like, it kind of became a thing where I'm like, okay, cool. So people want to see queer people have the happy endings that we don't see in media. So we should kind of keep going with that. Now, granted, they're not all going to be happy endings, because that's not the way life works, but it is better than just being like, fucking Disobedience is the saddest fucking movie.
Yeah, like she gets one good orgasm and then it's out.
And like what Lizzie is gonna be like, they kill the parents for love, and it's like, oh God, guys, why do we have the heaviest stuff? Like, I mean, I can't speak to Parallel Part 1, but Parallel Part 2 is pure fluff rom-com, like, because we don't have that, whereas like gay men got Love Simon and Alex Strangelove this year, and I was like, come on, guys. Can we get it?
Well, and while we talk about pure fluff and just fun, I mean, you, for anyone who doesn't know, you also have your own podcast, Queer as Fiction, which we adore. Where does that fit in terms of, you know, like escapism for you, and just like getting, like, I mean, it's just fun. It sounds like it's just fun.
Oh yeah, it's super fun. It started off as, I know that there are some people who are a little mad that we kind of changed directions since we started off reading lesbian erotica and making fun of it. And now it's just become a podcast where we just write fan fiction.
Yeah.
It's fun for us because we get to finally see the ships that we've always wanted to see together, like most fan fiction is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely escapism in a way that where you get to imagine all of this with us.
Right.
And live in this beautiful, queer, everyone's gay world together.
That's our dream world. Oh my God.
But it's just so funny because that really is the world I live in. I don't know where the straight people are. Do they exist?
Well, and are
they out there?
That's my favorite thing about Hollywood, when they always do the token queer friend, because I'm like, wait, what? Like, most queer people run in packs. Like, there are the token that happens every once in a while.
Wolves.
Yeah, we're like wolves, but like there is a point where I was like, right now I can't even think of the last time I talked to a straight person.
I remember the last time I talked to a straight person because it was so uncomfortable. I was like, holy shit, I only talk about gay things. What do I talk to you about? I was like sitting there being like, wait.
And then most of the time what you talk to them about is explaining gay things. Because you're like, okay, well, let me just fill you in so that you can understand anything I'm about to tell you because you don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's accurate.
So
but
real.
I think the reason that we were really interested in that thread, or that it kind of resonated with us, is I think it's something that we've discussed. I mean, Ellie and I have talked about it a ton. It's something that we talk about with people that we know, because I feel like I do when I intro the podcast to, you know, friends or family or like people who don't listen to it. You know, I've gotten a lot of feedback where people are like, oh my God, you should do an episode on this. And it's like heavy, hard-hitting journalism. And I'm like, I don't think that you have listened to my podcast, because that's not really what we are, you know, which is like not to say that that's not necessary or not important, but we're let's hang out. We're hanging out with me and Ellie. We're not, you know, there are plenty of podcasts that do lots of stuff that we don't do, you know, like History is Gay is a great podcast to just like, if you want that, like, here's the deep research and like getting into all of these historical things. I'm like, that's not that's cool. It's just not us. That's not what
I
we
think
do.
there's like a place for all of that. The whole point is like we want queer content that we can choose what we want to watch, what we want to listen to, and there's a variety of it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't all have to be that specific genre.
Yeah, life for queer people in general is always so heavy because, you know, society. So it's...
because the world.
Yeah, and especially with the way that politics are today. So, I mean, sometimes...
Womp womp.
Like, are you ever going to go up to, like, the creator of Friends and be like, why didn't you reflect the politics that were happening? Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, sometimes you just need that fluffy stuff. And if you want to see, like, the heavy stuff, just get on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. Good conclusion. Yeah. The conclusion is, absolutely. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think it is. I think the conclusion is every space doesn't have to be everything. And I think that's important, especially with something like Girlship TV, where you are doing a ton of content, but that content doesn't have to be every single type of content that is out there.
Yeah, and because one of the things that I'm most interested in, and it reflects already in the stuff on the channel, is just taking already like straight occupying spaces, straight occupying content, and inserting queer people into it, which is why that we're going to do something like a game show, like a queer themed game show, which is why I would love to do something that like, I basically just want to take every genre of TV and make it gay. And like, see, like, because we had talked about...
we want that too.
Yeah. Because we were talking about game show, and then me and my friends were talking about like, we called it a gay time talk show.
Yes, gay time talk show.
Yes.
And we were like,
wait, you have the cast for it though.
Yeah. So we were like, we could do something like The View that's just gay, which is like something that people have done. That wouldn't be anything super new. But like just like doing that where it's like, okay, game show, talk show, scripted, like just kind of taking all of those and be like, okay, but what would that look like if it was all queer? Like,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, and that's like, I always pitch, like, you know, when I tell people about queer as fiction, I always pitch it as like, if you like My Dad Wrote a Porno, but wish it was gay,
yay,
this is the podcast for you. Because it is. And I love My Dad Wrote a Porno.
My Dad Wrote a Porno is sort of gay, though. Like, Belinda's for sure a bi icon.
Yes, but it's gay written by an old straight dude.
A weird perv.
An old straight dude who I'm still pretty sure has never actually had sex. Yeah. So, I mean, there's that.
With that, I don't know if that description is as fitting now that we've switched to fan fiction, though, is it?
Yeah, no, I feel like,
when we were reading erotica,
yeah. It was a little bit, but it's still that sort of, I think the flavor is still the right description.
Sure. I just don't want to trick anyone now who might go over thinking that, because since we've changed the format.
Yes. Valid.
But it's still like reading fan fiction. Sure. I mean, it's like, it's kind of still there.
That's true, especially because we do react to fan fiction about us.
Yes. Which, God bless all of you, because I don't think I could.
Oh my God. It's so uncomfortable. It's so funny.
Oh my God.
The point being, if you haven't listened to Queer as Fiction, you should go listen to Queer as Fiction. Right now. Go. Yeah. We'll wait. We'll be here.
And if you haven't watched anything on Girlship TV, you should watch all the things on Girlship TV.
Yes. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't believe you only launched it like not even a year ago. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, because we had tried to submit for a panel at Klexicon before launching.
Yeah.
So
I think we might have too, or like right as we launched or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is it timely?
I think it's time. It's that exciting time for Q and Gay.
Q and Gay.
If you aren't familiar with Q and Gay, we have a couple questions that we're going to ask you, multiple choice or yes or no questions. You get to answer them, and then we put them up on our Twitter for our listeners to get to answer as well. Cool. So, Ellie, I will let you take it away.
Great. All right. Question number 1 is, your favorite Drunk Lesbians Watch episode out of multiple choice.
Okay.
A, Jenny's Wedding. B, Bound, of course.
No pressure.
No pressure. C, Jennifer's Body. D, Imagine Me and You.
I think I have to go with Jenny's Wedding. Just because of the pure horror on Brittany's face throughout most of that video.
Yes.
Honestly, like, that's also, I think, our favorite Should Have Been Gay.
Yes.
That we've ever done.
Yeah.
Because Yeah, it's not gay.
For such a terrible movie, it has brought such joy to the queer community because of how awful it is, I think.
Yeah.
It's so you go, Jenny's Wedding. You go. Okay, question 2. What parallel universe would you want to live in? A. Assassins. B. Life before the internet. C. In space. Or D. Period piece.
Period piece would be probably dangerous because no time is better than now to be gay.
Yes.
For some of us.
Sadly.
For some of us. Assassins we kind of built as a pretty bleak world. In space is definitely a good idea for one of the parallels.
Yeah.
Can you fit space in your apartment?
We could probably build a really shitty spaceship.
I want you to have like little like foam planets hanging from string. That's what I want.
And we'll just build like a model ship and like fly it through.
You have like a little person on a stick, like flying it from like they're on the bottom of the screen, just like
you 100% see their head.
Yes.
I guess I kind of right now want to say life before the internet, just because I truly believe that if we didn't have Twitter, life would be a better place.
And yet we spend our entire lives on Twitter.
As someone who frequently uses Twitter and like has 2 showrunners following me, which is like insane. It's like good, but also mostly bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, this is like sort of a weird question, but not really. It's tied into the censorship piece.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite word for lesbian? A, lesbian. B, les. C, lesy. D, lesbo.
Lesbian. Is that boring?
Yeah.
Just a classic.
Classic.
Yeah.
I, for one, am a huge fan of lesy. I don't know, like, I just think it's so funny. I just like calling people lesies.
Is that what we're going to rename Lizzie?
Yes, Lizzie is also lesy.
We also have fantastic Les shirts if you happen to prefer Les. You can check out our store. Just shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Yeah, always.
Question 4. Who has the most big dick energy out of the following? Kate Blanchett, Haley Kiyoko, Sarah Paulson, or Pink?
Oh, fuck.
So much big dick energy. I also would like to say I prefer big clit energy. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Who has the most big dick or big clit energy?
There have been some people saying big dyke energy.
Oh, I like that.
I like that too. Except most of these aren't dykes, but it's fair enough.
It's okay. I'm going to read too much into this. I feel like Haley Kiyoko has a lot of swag in her videos, but the way that she comes off in her interviews is a lot more awkward. So I don't, but she's so suave. I feel like I have to give it to Kate Blanchett because it feels like she is just, and like even in interviews, she's endlessly like, I don't give a fuck. And I think she got that BDE.
Okay.
Yeah, she totally does. All right, what is your favorite story from Queer as Fiction? A, Tomato Bondage. B, Ocean's 8 but gayer. C, A Different Kind of House Call. And D, Racula.
I kind of have to go with Racula.
Racula was amazing.
It was amazing. So ridiculous.
What a debut episode.
Yeah. Oh, God. That episode, too, was all over the place because the erotica was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Breast blessed.
Breast blessed.
Nice. Love it.
Amazing.
Remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod. And Amanda, where can people find you on the accursed Twitter?
Yes. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Awkward Holland on Twitter and on Instagram. We also have at GirlShipTV on Twitter, which is run by Christine, who's lovely and thankfully has been doing this with very little help from me. So shout out to Christine.
Amazing. Are there any other projects that are coming up that you would like to tell our audience about?
Not any that I feel like we've covered all of it.
We've already covered them all. Just
wait.
So if you skipped to the end, you have to listen to the fucking episode, losers.
I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Have you done Should Have Been Gay Whip It?
No, but it's for sure on the list.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I watched it the other day.
But if you'd like to join us for it, you're more than welcome.
Okay, cool.
Yes. I actually went to the roller derby for the first time ever the other day.
Oh, really?
Like last week. Yeah. Have you ever been?
Yes. It's brutal.
It's crazy.
I wanted to do it for a second, but then I was like, because I want to be able to, I'm a very fragile person, and if I stub my toe, I start to tear up. And I was like, I feel like I need to learn how to take a hit, but I can't roller skate that well yet, so I can't try out for roller derby.
So maybe not the sport to start with.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
maybe boxing is better for
like
me.
on not wheels.
You're like, A,
first.
I don't like getting beat up, and B, I don't roller skate. So maybe roller derby, not for me.
But I want to try to get beat up so I can be better at taking hits.
So if
right.
anyone in our audience is in the LA area and wants to like smack Amanda around a little bit, open call for someone to come and just like hit you with boxing gloves or something.
Great, perfect.
Okay. Great. Awesome.
Also, Amanda will be doing an Instagram story takeover on our Instagram on Tuesday, so make sure to follow us so you can watch that.
And thank you so much for hanging out with us, Amanda. This has been wonderful.
Ellie's still crying.
Thank you.
Ellie's going to move to LA and
much.
volunteer.
I really hope you don't get beat up because of this episode.
Only consensually.
Yeah, the sad thing is I feel like someone's going to try to take us up on that. It's not a real offer, okay? I take it back.
Don't do it unless she says it's okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah, anytime if you want to come back or if you want to come do Whip It, we'll have you on for Whip It. It'll be great.
Okay, cool.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from you guys. We love building this community. And so we want to take an opportunity to shout out some of our favorite things that have been happening lately. Starting with...
So I am in charge of our Instagram, and I get some amazing messages. And this was one of my particular favorites, so I need to share it. Bianca Burke DM'd us and said, "Hi, I just wanted to thank you for making your podcast. It has helped my friends and I that you would call baby gays come to term with who we are. And OMG, we are so gay."
And so are we, Bianca.
And I'm pretty
So
sure
are we.
I just messaged her back, like, congratulations. Like, I'm so happy for her that she's so gay. So happy for you, Bianca. Thank you for listening.
Love our baby gays, always. We always want to shout out our top tier lesbian Jesus patrons because we couldn't do this without all of our patrons, especially these people: Amy and Ellen,
Kayla Kelly,
Lizette Stye,
Grace Bowen,
and Jess Klaus. So thank you so much, you guys.
And I would just like to say we have 2 more lesbian Jesus patrons than we had last episode. Like, that's amazing. Sorry.
Yes.
Like, thank you all. You're amazing.
You are our faves. Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
Or you can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can also check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
And make sure you subscribe so you'll be the first to know when new episodes come out.
We're also going to be posting every Wednesday on our YouTube channel, so make sure you check out all of our videos and subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/letshangoutpod.
And if you want to support the podcast, you can support us on Patreon at bit.ly/lespatreon.
You can also check out our merch at bit.ly/lesshop. Get some fun shirts and tanks and mugs and whatever you could dream of.
And if you want to find us individually, you can find me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can find me at LSH Foster on Instagram and Twitter. And with that, I'm Lee.
And I'm Ellie.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's incredible Only One story. We talk to real people dealing with issues like infertility, the death of a loved one, human trafficking, and women who, fake it. Oh, and we want to be fair, so we talk to celebrities too. Emmy winners like actor John Cryer, supermodels like Amber Valletta, and rock stars like Ryan Dusick. Everyone is invited to share their Only One story with our listeners. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee you that Only One in the Room has a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone. Download Only One in the Room on Apple or Spotify today.